I want to talk to you about something that is I'm very passionate about. I feel like uh, one of the things that doesn't get stressed enough is the amount of bodies that don't get to live long enough because they're taken away too soon by violence. And that is mainly black men. Now, black males make up about 6% of the US population, but for some reason, we make up roughly half of the homicide victims. What's not discussed enough is why this is happening. Who are the victimizers? Unfortunately, about 96% of the victimizers are also black males. It means we are taking one another's lives. It's our peers who are shooting us, our peers who are violently attacking us. Now, I say us, and it's not necessarily me because it's usually happening to a certain demographic of black males, and that is black males between the ages of 15 and 34. Now, black males between the ages of 15 and 34 have homicide listed as their number one killer. Homicides. Not car accidents, not heart disease, not diabetes, not accidental deaths. As a matter of fact, homicides make up a greater killer than the other nine beneath that. So all those other killers I mentioned, there's like nine. If you look on the list, there's the nine of the top 10 homicides. All the homicides have kill a greater number than the other nine beneath it combined. That's amazing. So you total all the car accidents, you total all of the heart attacks, you total all of the accidental deaths, you total all of these things, tobacco, all of those things combined don't kill as many people, black men, as homicide does. That's a huge problem, folks. A huge problem. And we're just not talking about it enough. Now, for some reason, the news likes to shy away from this discussion, and maybe perhaps it's because it's so frequently happening. It occurs so frequently that it's not even newsworthy. Now, a lot of us in the field of journalism know the term dog bites man, no story. Man bites dog, now that's a story. Now, why is it a story? Why is it a story when the man bites the dog? Well, because it's rare. It rarely happens. Dogs are usually the ones that do the biting. Not men don't bite dogs, right? So it's rare. So that's why those stories end up in the news so frequently. So the stories and narrative that we hear a lot about now are, the police shootings of black males. Police shootings of black males are something that I believe we should talk about. It's worthy of discussion. It shouldn't happen. One death is too many. However, we have to talk about what brings the police in contact with these black males to begin with. And I think that's not what's being discussed. I think people have a real problem when if you're talking about someone who just got shot by the police and you start bringing up, black on black crime, or you start bringing up violence in the black community, or the fact that the victim had a violent history or a criminal history. Those things are things that people don't want to discuss. What I'd like to think is that those things should be up for discussion. Maybe not at that time, but we should have a discussion about it to allow for folks to see things clearly, because I don't think people see things clearly when it comes to these things. I think what has happened is, for some reason, we have blinders on to, the black intraracial homicides. Black intraracial homicides are something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. It's not a popular topic. It's not even popular for people to go and try and protest these things or figure out ways to prevent it. Prevention is not something that people want to discuss. I mean, there's groups out there doing it, but it's not in the mainstream. I don't see a lot of information on it out there that's being played in the news. And again, if you hear something frequently, it starts to sink in. It becomes etched on your imagination, on your mind. Right now, what's etched is the police shootings. The media has learned that they do much better in ratings when they're reporting on these stories. So, for instance, the Michael Brown situation, there was a huge increase in ratings for CNN. It really helped CNN when that story came out, and that's why it ran for so many days. Can you imagine if it was a black male that shot another black male and got that much attention on CNN? I guarantee you the ratings wouldn't have been that high. We're desensitized to it. I mean, we hear it in rap music all the time. We see it on these black movies, that American gangsters, and documentaries like Game Over, and there's a lot of documentaries out there in the hip hop community, or urban community, whatever you want to call it, that basically glamorize these black gangsters. You have the Alpos from New York City. I mean, in my city, there's a documentary about some drug dealer out here. I mean, black drug dealers who have engaged in violent behavior are promoted and remembered, and people know their names. Rich Porters, these guys are celebrities in their own right, and they were celebrities when they were alive and well, and after their death, they're still celebrated in ways. And it's fine that those stories are told. However, I think it speaks to where our mentality is right now, and that is that in some ways, in some form or fashion, this criminal behavior, this violent behavior can be and is celebrated through music or whatever else, through these movies or whatever else. It's celebrated. And for that reason, it's kind of protected. I mean, you had the Stop Snitching movement. When black folks are killed in these neighborhoods, a lot of times it's hard for police to get information out of people. So by having the police, first, when we have the police as a bad guy, if we think of the police as bad people, then you eliminate folks being able to get justice. Like so many, what people don't realize is so many homicide victims, their cases never get solved. There's tons of cases of black people who've been killed and the cases never get solved. It's amazing how many there are. And I can find the data on that later. I think in some cities it's like 75% of cases go unsolved. I mean, that's a ridiculous number. So many folks are not being brought to justice after their killing. And we have a big problem. I mean, one of the arguments that I hear of why we should talk more about police brutality or police shootings of black folks than we should of black on black crime is because, the criminals get away. The criminals are brought to justice. When you kill a black man, if you're black and you kill a black man, you gonna go to jail. Really? There's a lot of people who aren't going to jail, and part of it is because there is no cooperation with the police. we it's kind of a weird circle that we're going in, where things, the police are bad, they're not able to help us solve problems that we have. And my argument has been for a long time that the police shouldn't even have to be there. We could eliminate the police coming into these communities if we eliminated violence. I mean, it eliminate so much of the reasoning for police being there. Much of the reason for them being there is the violence. So if you have a violent community, you're going to have interactions with the police. And that is the piece of information that I think we really need to address. Why are we not addressing this? Why are we not talking about why police come into these communities to begin with? Or how can we stop police from coming into these communities? Rather than just saying, hey, police are racist. There's not really a lot of evidence for that. I mean, when you look at the data, you'll see that police are shooting white people as well. The data shows that police have to use force sometimes, and sometimes it's deadly force. And the data also shows, it seems to show that police are shooting people in areas where there's high crime. And they're also shooting the people who are in that same demographic. Even the white people that they're shooting seem to be males. For the most part, they're white males. For the most part, they're in a certain age demographic, which is young white males. So young men in general tend to be the ones who get shot more frequently. And that is because, as we know, young men are more likely to engage in deviant and criminal behaviors than young women, than old men, than little kids, right? So this explains why those demographics are the ones who are being shot by police or have interactions with the police more frequently. Again, I don't see the racial component as a component that we should focus on as much as focusing on what's bringing the police there to begin with. I think if we eliminate the reason for police to be there, then there won't be any reason for them to be there, and we'll see the numbers of shootings drop tremendously. Right now, I think The Guardian says that unarmed black men killed in America in 2016, there were, I think, 39, which is too high. Larry Elder, I saw him talking about it, and he said there were 17. I don't know where he got that number from. I'm sure one of those numbers is correct or close to correct, or there's something somewhere in between. It's not a lot compared to the thousands that die at the hands of one another. So we need to address these things. We need to address them. And by turning a blind eye, by saying things like trying to shut people down when they're talking about black intraracial violence. I think when I have dealings on the internet and discussions with people, I get attacked. I have discussions with my friends, and they're heated discussions because people are very touchy about these subjects, and rightfully so. However, I think we really need to have a real discussion. People always say, well, we need to have a serious discussion about race. How about let's have a serious discussion about people dying at the hands of others. Let's have a serious discussion about the culture that creates a love for the criminal behavior. Let's have a serious discussion about it. I mean, everybody wants to consider racism, right? People, the wind can blow the wrong way and people will consider racism, right? Everybody wants to consider all kinds of other things, all kinds of other reasonings for these things happening. Poverty, they want to consider. There's all kinds of reasons. But for this time, for most things, I think it's very important that we consider culture. All right. I'm Chi Brown. Thanks.